Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 121 of Photo Critiques. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard that I'm no longer accepting any new images for critique. I will be doing critiques for a while though, so I'll be doing these videos through February and into March because I have a big backlog that I have to get through. But sadly, I'm not going to be taking any new ones in. If you're curious as to why I'm not going to be taking any new ones in, click the link in the description of this video. It'll take you to the website where I explain why I'm not going to be doing critiques anymore in the future and the exciting new thing I'm going to be doing instead of critiques. And I'm real excited, and I've been getting tons of emails of people interested in it, so it's making me even more excited. So although I'm really like doing the critiques, this other thing I'm going to be doing is going to fill in real nice, and I can't wait to get to it. As I mentioned, this is episode 121, and in this episode I'm critiquing the photography of Hans-Erik Arp. Hans has sent me some really nice images, and I'm really excited to do this critique. You guys remember, or those of you that watch my critiques, many times I critique an image and I says, this image doesn't have a strong subject, and there's nowhere for our eyes to really resolve on anything. We need a strong subject in this image. And then I mentioned in other critiques too that you don't always need a strong subject though. Sometimes color, contrasting color, shapes, textures will be a good substitute for a strong subject. I don't really like the way I worded that, but you don't always need the strong subject. You have interesting geometric shapes that holds the viewer's interest. You don't need that super strong subject necessarily. If you have some interesting contrasting textures like soft and hard, something like that, that will hold the viewer's interest. And then if you have interesting color, it will hold the viewer's interest. And I think this photograph qualifies on two different fronts. We have really this beautiful color. This is just fantastic. And then on top of that, we have interesting texture of the clouds, very soft clouds. And then we have this hard silhouette down here. So we have soft and hard contrast. And it's just a very, very well composed, super great processing. It's very well done, Hans. Very nice. I like it a lot. And there's really, as you look at it, there's no real strong subject. There's not a person flying through the sky. There's not a three-legged dog, as I often say. Nothing like that. But it's really nice image. The only thing I could suggest that you do in the future, and you do it to this image too, is we have these little specks, and they're probably birds flying way out in the distance. And whenever you have that, if a viewer looking at it, it just looks like dirt speck. And if you get this printed to any reasonable size, 8 by 10, 11 by 14, 16 by 20 even, they just look like dirt specks, and that's all they'll ever look like. So I would say is that these little specks like that, there's one there, there's one over here. I'm sure if I look hard enough I might find another one because they're just birds flying around, I think. Clone those out when you have time, and then you'll be assured that when you get it printed, no one's going to think that there's a dirt speck on the photo paper. This is a really nice composition. I love the rolls of hay. I tend to call them bales. I'm not sure if they're necessarily called that, but it's really really well done. I like the processing too. I like too that the sky didn't look like it was very interesting, and Hans minimized the sky by really pointing his camera down a little bit, and he has a foreground element here to grab our attention instead of the sky. So it's a really nice composition. The only little thing that bothers me a little bit is the cab here. It's sticking out. Now I'm thinking that if Hans cut it out and just shot from here over, it might not have been a great image because we'd have this piece of apparatus, whatever it's called, in the shot, and it's just kind of laying there. And the viewer might not know, exactly what that is and where it goes to or anything like that. So I do agree with Hans in getting in part of this cab. I would just get a little more of it. Maybe back up just a little bit. Point the camera slightly a bit to the right. I wouldn't get the whole piece, the whole machine in the shot. But I think if you got enough in where you show the steering wheel, I think, or some of the controls, I think showing the steering wheel would have been better for the composition. It would have gave the viewer enough clues that somebody gets in this, drives it around. I mean, most of us know that anyway, even if we just saw this. But I think, as I mentioned many times in these critiques, when a viewer looks at our images, we don't want them to think. We just want them to feel. So the more visual clues you could give someone, the better. So in this case, I think if you just backed it up just a little bit and got a little more of this cab and possibly included the steering wheel, I think it would really push this image over the top. I love this shot. I'm particularly fond of shots of wild animals when they're looking back at the camera. I just think they're winners. I just love it. And what I like specifically about this shot, beside that point, is the f-stop of 7.1 was just about perfect. Using an f-stop of 7.1 and having perfect focus on the subject, which are the zebras, the background is blurred just enough where it makes the zebras jump out of the screen, or if you had a print, jump out of the paper, because they're in perfect focus and everything else is soft, and it just makes the zebras, which are your main subject, stand out. So I really like this composition, and I like what you did to create it. Very well done, very nice. Next, there we go. And this is similar, very well done. Again, an f-stop of 7.1 500th of a second, and it's same thing. I like the composition. I like that the animals are looking back at the camera. I like that. Excuse me one second. Someone's calling me. Do you believe how rude that is? Hold on one second, guys. Okay, as I was saying, is I just like the everything about this shot. I like the composition. I like that the animals are looking back at the camera. That's personal, very personal preference. I like that. And I like that the animals are in perfect focus and the background is out of focus just enough, and even the foreground grasses are out of focus just enough, which allow the animals to pop out from the screen. Now this shot was a little more difficult. The background's a lot busier and a lot closer to the giraffe, meaning here the background is further away from these animals. So because of that, they blurred out a little more. And the same thing with the zebras. The background is a little bit further away than the zebras, so they blurred out a little more. So what happens is, because this background is closer to the giraffe, it doesn't blur out as much, which means the giraffe isn't jumping out of the screen as much. So it kind of is blending into the background. So it's a little more challenging of a shot when the animal is tighter up against what would become the background in your photograph. So f of 7.1 is the exact same aperture used in the previous ones, but it's still, because of that, the giraffe isn't popping out as much as the other photographs. So in this case, I would have even opened up even more. It's f of 4 to 5.6, and you're at 250 millimeters, so you would have had to put it at f of 5.6, was as wide open as you could have got, and maybe that would have caused the background to blur out a little more, and that would have helped the giraffe jump out of the screen a little more. So that's one thing. The other thing, the composition itself, the giraffe is pretty tight up against this side of the screen, and it doesn't look totally balanced. I do like that you have the giraffe to the left and it's moving to the right, so you have the open part of the photograph to the right. I just a little bit more. I'm not saying to smack dab put him in the middle, but if you moved him over, if his whole body was forward 6 to 12 inches, I think it would have balanced the photograph just a little more. Now I do realize this is a wild animal, and you might have had only one shot and then it turned away, and started eating a tree, so some leaves off a tree, so it is difficult, I know. This shot here I love. The reason why is it's really kind of two shots in one. It's a landscape shot. We have this beautiful sky, nice clouds, hills. We have this natural kind of framing with this U shape of the tree line. So it kind of like naturally frames up here, so it kind of helps us look up in here at this beautiful thing, beautiful thing in the distance. But what we have is these two cows, almost as an afterthought, are way down here at the bottom of the frame. And they just add visual interest. And it's really a nice shot. And this is many times in critiques I mention, like in a city scene, I'll say you don't have any people. If there was a person here, it would add scale, it adds some visual interest. It's not the subject of the shot necessarily. It just adds something to the shot. And I think that's the case here. If these two cows weren't here, I don't think it's nowhere near as strong of a shot. And just having the cows there, it just adds visual interest and appeal to the overall image. This is a really nice shot. And one thing about Hans's images, his focusing is so bang on. I mean, just perfect focus. And in this case, the horse is perfectly in focus. F of 8, again, the horse is jumping out of the screen. If you printed it, it would jump out of the paper because that F of 8 causes the background to blur out just enough, which helps isolate the horse, which is in perfect focus. So very well done, Hans. This is a really nice shot too, and this is similar to the shot with the cows in that it's really a landscape shot. We have beautiful sky, and Hans is maximizing the sky by shooting up a little bit, having the horizon very low in the frame. And very well done, very nice processing. But then we have this horse here looking back at the camera. So it's a really, really nice shot. Now, if you guys could imagine, if this horse wasn't here, this would not be anywhere near as strong as a shot as it is. Just having that horse in there, it helps add scale and it adds visual interest to the shot. So it's a really, really nice shot, Hans. I think that's the last one. Yes, it is. So Hans, thank you very much for sharing your images with me. I really enjoyed doing your critique. And I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos on YouTube and visits my website. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And if you guys haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Anthony Morganti. So if you could subscribe to that, I'd really appreciate that. So again, thank you everyone for watching my videos, and I'll talk to you guys.